It's like basically, right?
Jamie, again, it's your meeting.
Yeah.
Well, no, you. Yeah, I think that would just, if someone starts rambling on a lot, I'd say, well, we traditionally have. Something like that, instead of actually shutting them off.
18 months, right?
You know, it's just, it's like, I don't think I've ever seen. No, it's just as soon as you do, you kind of drive in that way between you and everyone else.
Yep.
And it's just, I think it's really nice. Meeting, you know, instead of yelling, everything's gonna go smoothly. And sometimes I think that's just
You guys
simple,
can
just
drive
talk
it.
and talk and say, you know, what's going on. Get the 2 minutes.
Too much stress, I don't have too much stress in my life.
Hey, you're rolling.
Hi. Yeah, there you go. What's that? I think so. I got 5 o'clock, so.
Okay. Okay, I've got 5 o'clock. Call the meeting to order, Thursday, September 19th, 2019. Roll call, Selectman Howdy Goodwin, Mike Mansalilli, Mackenzie Jewett, Kevin Buck, myself, Jamie Thurlow, Town Manager Chris Saunders, Town Clerk Katie Dan Duran, and press, I believe, and members of the public. Adoption to agenda. Does anybody have anything they'd like to change? Okay. Approval of minutes.
I make a motion to approve the minutes of September 16th, 2019.
Second.
It's been approved and seconded to approve the minutes from Monday, September 16th, 2019. Any discussion? All those in favor? Okay, next thing is a public hearing. Just wanted to start with an opening statement before we open up the public hearing. We're all here for a public hearing on law enforcement, obviously. And we've had these hearings in the past, and I'd like to really emphasize that we all know that Hancock County and Southwest Harbor would do a great job providing us with their service. The real question is this time is do the cost outweigh the benefits? Roughly, the cost would be 60,000 more, I'll just say to start off, with Southwest versus what we have now, which is Hancock County. That being said, I would like to make sure everyone stays on topic during discussion and you're respectful of one another. And we're going to allow 3 minutes for each person to talk, and then there will be a follow-up period afterwards, which is when everybody gets done. Then if you have any more to add, then we'll have a second round of stuff. And that way everybody has a chance to be heard. And before you speak, please state your name, just so for the record we know who it is. And also, just so everyone knows, this meeting is being recorded. So just wanted that to be noted. Okay, I guess I call the public hearing to order at 5:02. Comments? Charlie?
Floor open to me.
Yeah.
I wanted to get some comments from some other people first.
Yeah. Well,
You guys all know me, I'm Charlie Dillon, past selectman, couple of terms. I was a selectman when the police subject first came up. And I understand where you guys are setting, what the responsibilities are that you're taking on. When this subject first came up, the select board contacted the Maine State Police and had Representative Captain, I can't remember his name, come down and spoke to us. They really couldn't provide us a whole lot of what we were asking for, although they did tell us that they were always on standby and their jurisdiction is this island, just like anywhere else. They just don't come down here a lot unless there's a complaint, so. We contacted the sheriff's department. Sheriff Kane was involved in it at the time. He came down and spoke to us. Told us what he could provide and the price that they could provide it for. We took that into consideration, went to Southwest Harbor. We had a joint selectmen's meeting with Southwest Harbor selectmen and the Tremont selectmen. Sheppy was the chief in Southwest Harbor at the time. He told the Southwest Harbor selectmen what he would need to provide coverage for Tremont. And it's probably not fair because they were doing 24-hour coverage and the sheriff's department's offered 30 hours coverage. But we listened to it anyway. At the time, they were gonna have to hire 2 more deputies and buy a new cruiser. And they were talking 24-hour coverage. And I think the price was around $250,000 a year. The sheriff's department at that time, I think, was about 60. We put out an inquiry to the town, and I don't remember exactly what we did it, but we asked the voters of the town, either a letter sent out to the voters, what their advice on what would be, now that we had the numbers and what we could do. It came back pretty unanimous that the townspeople elected to go with the sheriff's department, which made the selectman's job pretty easy. It was a no-brainer then. As far as I'm concerned, it's a no-brainer now, because I read the paper and I know what the cost of Southwest Harbor is. And I know what the sheriff's department's charging us. I've not heard any complaints for harassment or craziness. You gotta be careful when you hire, you gotta know what you're hiring if you hire a police department. Do we want a fisherman hauling his traps down the shore with a light out on his trailer to get pinched at 5 o'clock in the morning? Do we want somebody going to God's store for pizza to get a seatbelt violation? They told me that wouldn't happen. But I can attest to you firsthand, it does happen. Because I got a ticket over here in front of David Smith's going to God's store for pizza one Friday night. Safety, seatbelt violation. I had a passenger with me. They also got cited. I paid both tickets. That was an expensive pizza. I just wanted to let you know a little bit of the history of how we came about hiring the sheriff's department in the first place, and in all the years that they've been doing the job for the town, I think they've done an excellent job, and the price has stayed reasonable.
Thank you, Charlie. Anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
My name is Phyllis Bennett. People may know my husband, Bradley Bennett, the plumber. I'm here because I'm a widow now. And being a widow does not leave you the easiest life. I've had many trouble with the police department, the sheriff's department. I called them several times, talked to them about very small matters that didn't require their coming to my home. No problem, call the state police. State police would have an or no, something, no. So my questions never got answered. The other thing I have now is I have someone who is continually, should we say, burglarizing my house. To the point that they have taken everything. They've trashed my dog. That's my dog is with me all the time, 24/7. As I've heard, they have taken my home. They bring their dog in. The dog pees on my rug. Does turds, size of a hot dog, but my dog can't do one the size of a cigarette. And this has been going on now for 2.5 years. This started 3 years ago when I came back from the Parker Fair. There's also, I have a camper trailer, an older camper trailer. My son, I don't know if it's in it or not, I can't prove it, but anyway, my son, they were talking, and anyway, not even a week later, this drug dealer moved in my home, and it's been there for 2.5 years. He has left within the last 6 months. He's either got caught or he's gone on to better territory, which I don't know. But anyway, it's nice to know. Every night I took my dog out 11 o'clock, wondered, am I going to get shot? Am I going to get in trouble or something? I was scared then. I am no longer scared anymore of them if they come. I guess the older age, knowing that my life is shorter, if I'm going to go, I'm going to go. But I'm tired of being harassed all the time. Right now, I wonder, I now have just put in within the last month a security system in my house. They can still get in. They're getting in, and I've got a very good security system. It's on now. When I go home, I don't know whether anything goes on or not. But they're very nice. They leave something behind to let me know they're there. They always leave something behind. If there's a dog, they leave a can and a thing. If there's something else, they'll leave something else there behind. One time, they got in my shed. When we got my shed, there's an old ski vest there. They put the ski vest right in front of the door, so I had to walk on the ski vest. I knew they're there. There's no sense saying it because they're going to do what they want to do. And I live in sick. I was also sick for 1.5 years and wound up in bed most of the time. They came in, they went in my kitchen because I did not have the security system at the time. They have keys to my deadbolt even. I don't know how they got them, but they sure didn't get them from me. My deadbolt, they come in, I have missing my frying pans. I'm missing food, I'm missing everything. And one time, they even came in my front door. The only trouble is, I was sleeping in bed sick. I tried to get them, they heard the bed. Man, they gone out the front door and haven't been in since. I would like to see a sheriff, somebody around my place that I could feel safe. 4 miles away. 25 miles away is a long time. Now we gotta go farther. And 25 miles, if God help you, if you're either murdered or raped, forget it, it's over with. Because in 25 miles, it's going to take quite a while to get back down to where you are in Tremont. I know it because I drive it all the time. I feel it's a long ways, it's a big expense. Do we put the price on our life, or do we put the price on the safety that we have, and the security? If something happens to us, we know we have somebody to rely on. If you call the Concord County Sheriff, I call one time, oh, we don't have anybody here. Fine, take care of yourself. Nothing gets taken care of, it still goes on. It's been going on for years. They're putting money over the other. Yes, it's a lot of money. We are all strapped. Goodness knows, I am on a widow's pension. I don't have much, but I'm willing to give whatever I can to help to put this so we can have a decent sheriff department here, that we can able to feel free and I not have to worry. What, 4 miles away, they've got the ambulance there, they got everything right close at hand. It's very close. And why do we have to wait 20, because the guy comes 25? It's gonna take him half an hour to 3/4. The minute he hits that town bridge, oh, boom, there's the car, there's everything. They know the unmarked cars, I know that they do, and everything. And I told them, I could get this drug dealer any night. He was in he came at between 4 and 5 o'clock. He was there. I saw him every night. I was scared. I'm not gonna deny it. I was scared then. I am no longer scared if he comes back, no longer. Or any of them come. But I think come. But what happened was when the first time I was an article in the Bar Harbor Times. Is my time up yet? Oh,
Well,
next time I'll read the part if I have time.
well,
I'm sorry, it's hard when you're talking, time goes by. Thank you.
thank you. All right. Heath,
Heath Higgins, I'm the ACO in Tremont. I've worked well with the sheriff's office and Southwest PD. If there's a problem, I'm out of town. People often drop their dogs off at the Southwest Harbor Dispatch, we need to pick up. So, I've had a great relationship with both of them. is what I'm getting at.
thank you.
I'm Diana McMullen. We had a citizens initiative a couple of years ago and put this on the ballot, and it passed,
Mhm.
except for the cost, which had been changed from the time that they submitted something from Southwest, and the vote was carried. I don't think the price went down from that date. It's only going to go up. And I think it's a little difficult to compare 30 hours of service to 24/7. It doesn't compute to me, comparing 30 hours to 24/7.
I think the coverage that when I was phrasing to earlier, it's this roughly, we'll just give a rough number of $60,000 difference. Those were like for like coverages. Those would be 30 hours for the sheriff's department or 30 hours for Southwest Harbor.
So Southwest is not 24/7?
They did have another option. That was a second option. And Chris, how much was just a rough?
Yep, so the 30 or 24/7 option is $270,000
Right.
per year. And then their 30-hour option is $123,000 plus the per call
Yes.
cost.
Okay, so it is 24/7 is what is on this.
There's two, did you look
Two
on
options.
the second page?
Right,
At the middle of the second page, it has their 30-hour per week option.
okay. But you do have a quote for
Mhm.
24/7.
Yes.
So that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
There's quotes for both there.
Yeah, there's quotes for both.
If you
yes.
look halfway down the second page, is a quote for 30-hour coverage.
So the sheriff's department has a 24/7?
No.
No, so that's what I'm saying,
No.
is they're not offering 24/7, but this price is from Southwest for
Okay.
24/7.
Yep.
So 30 is a lot less hours than 24/7. So of course it's gonna cost more.
There's also a quote for the same coverage.
Right, but I'm looking at the 24/7 because that's what I personally would want.
Okay, that's what we weren't getting from you. Okay.
Right, yeah, I understand. Yeah.
I never been to this, but did they say anything? I know. No?
Can we get through anybody who has a comment first and then
The
after?
difference between the two of having the sheriff and the 24/7 is 134,810 people. There's an awful lot of people in this town now, and there's a lot of new people coming in too. We're just gonna bring more problems. We don't know what kind of stuff. This town is just full of druggies. We all know that. We get it.
Anybody else? Yes, ma'am.
My name is Densey McEnroe. I live on Bayview Drive in Tremont. I had a situation a couple of years ago with my nephew where he was in maybe some kind of danger at my house, and I was at work, and I was called by the high school to go check on him, and they told me to call the sheriff's department. I did that, and they said, please don't enter the house. I'm 40 minutes out. And I was like, 40 minutes out. I am in the driveway right now, and you're saying that my nephew might have hurt himself inside my house, and I have to wait 40 minutes to go in here? My husband was out of town, so he wasn't available, and I called him, and I went in, and everything was fine. But 40 minutes out, I mean, Southwest Harbor's right there, I think it's a no-brainer, really, it's not, there's no price tag on this.
Thank you. Anyone else like to comment? Yes.
I'm Marjorie, but, in an emergency situation, isn't it Southwest Harbor, being closer, don't they come automatically? Don't they dispatch them, versus, well, the guys are here.
Not
so-
always.
Can I ask?
Yeah, I think that'd probably be a question best asked for them.
Yeah,
Yes.
okay.
ahead.
So, if there was a bad emergency, I don't know what was wrong with your nephew, but rape, robbery, wouldn't Southwest Harbor come?
We have mutual aid agreements with the sheriff's department, just like we have mutual aid agreements with the Mount Desert and Mar police departments.
And right now, with the
If it
bridge
is-
closed, how long does it take to come here?
A little bit longer.
Yeah.
If it's a true bona fide emergency, then we're going to assist the sheriff's department, okay?
Okay,
However, let's say you have a property near Jackson in Tremont, we're not coming over to it. If you have somebody who's just being loud and disorderly, hollering in the street, we're probably not going to come over
no,
for
but
that. We will come for a bona fide emergency if requested by the sheriff's department. And that's a case by case decision.
Okay, so what, if someone threatening to harm themselves or someone else in the house and the state police said they're 40 minutes out, they wouldn't call you guys?
They should, yeah.
But we don't wanna wait until some really big emergency happens to make this happen, I mean, don't we want this, so, I don't know, I just feel like it's safety first.
Mike, sorry.
Southwest Harbor is a great assistance to the town. And they should be supplemented in some way, like per call, maybe keep the sheriff's department as is. But if you have emergency, a per call basis with agreement with Southwest Harbor, so they're kind of compensated for the energies that they brought forward would make somewhat of a 24-hour coverage for any real emergency. Tremont doesn't have any businesses. And we do a lot of business over there as far as shopping local and such. There should be a one hand washes the other type of effect to appreciate our business for their town. And maybe they appreciate we work shopping there likewise. Anyways.
Okay, thank you, Mike. Yes,
Has anyone discussed what is considered to be the negative to doing this? I mean, what have we heard that is why we wouldn't want to do this?
I think it's, I don't know if I guess it would just be the money.
Okay, so
Would-
it's just the
it would-
financial piece.
Yeah,
just-
it'd be the financial part of it. Mhm. Mike,
Not only that, but I find most of the Southwest Harbor cops don't really have the experience that the Hancock County Sheriff's police patrolmen have. So when you have someone of more experience coming to your assistance, that's also priceless.
yes.
Maybe, I've never been to a meeting before, but I feel that sitting here, that this all revolves around is money. Money, 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 money. Money doesn't buy happiness, and money doesn't buy you the safety that you need at the time you need it. And if something could be arranged between these two towns, they could work the hours together, because 40 minutes away is a long time, especially if somebody's attacking you. I got problems with people in your house. It isn't funny, it's scary. And somebody needs help, but when you need help, why put a price on it? Oh, no, you can't come because we haven't got the money. The money needs to be there, and it should be. And I think the taxes are fair in this town to everybody. Maybe some people, some people don't, but if they can raise, how much more would it cost? I see a difference between hiring Southwest Harbor at Tremont of $134,870. Well, if you take a lot of people, certainly split that money all up, it wouldn't be that much for everybody, basically, to go strong. Maybe some people, yes. There are people in this town very, very poor, there's no doubt about it. And probably some homeless, but if they could split the money up somehow, I think Southwest Harbor's got they've got a tremendous crew, they're very kind, they're very nice, and I think they would be an asset to this community.
Thanks. Anyone else? Yes, go ahead.
I'll just share, I'm Scott Kane, I am the Sheriff of Hancock County, this is my chief deputy, Pat Kane. Before I came down, and I respect everything that you're supposed to say, and I understand that, and Ellsworth isn't gonna get any closer to Tremont, that isn't gonna happen. And we have limited resources, but we do dedicate a deputy down here during the 30 hours that you contract with us, and they are specifically here in the town of Tremont. The only reason that they would leave is, God forbid, there's a life-threatening situation in Southwest Harbor or somewhere else, they'd be pulled out. But they would then come back and complete their shift, or we would make those hours up somewhere else. So, 24 hours a day, we have somebody 24 hours a day. Are they always out in that car? Absolutely not. So I went back and had the dispatchers go down through the list for me from the January 1 of this year until today to see how many complaints that came in to the town, to the sheriff's office from Tremont, and what type of complaints that they were, the hours that our officers are not 10-8 in their vehicle. And the first one that came in was simply a harassment complaint, which was there was no life-threatening situation and there was no problem, it was dealt with the next day. The next one was a car deer accident, and there was no injuries. The deputy did respond to that to take care of it at that time. The next one was an OUI, and that OUI came from a special detail where we assigned an officer down here to work traffic, to work OUIs, and the town of Tremont was not paid, was not charged for that. That was grant money that we got, and we wanted to make sure that we could do that in some of the towns in Tremont. The next one was an alarm, 1080, and that was handled with no issue. At the time, Bar Harbor PD had somebody in Soamesville. The officer heard that, knew that we had somebody on call, called his supervisor said, run down and check it, there was no problem, there was nothing, it was a false alarm. The next one was a speeding complaint. Believe it or not, we get those all hours of the day and night. The next one was another accident, the officer responded to that and was handled. The next two were noise complaints. One of them did not even want the officer, just wanted us to know, and that was assigned to the officer when they came out the next morning, so they really was gonna work through that. And the last one is what we call a citizen assist. There was someone that just wanted to talk to an officer. And there was one other complaint, and that was sent to the state police because we had a call sharing agreement. So those are the type of calls that are coming in, from the hours that we're not here. So that's, I guess, we had this conversation, 3 years ago, I believe it was. The proposal that we sent to you is for 1 year, and we sent it for 1 year because, again, we're in contract negotiations that hopefully are gonna start sometime soon. Our best guess is where they were gonna be. I think we've held the line. We are not in the business at the sheriff's office to come down and make money off the taxpayers of the town of Tremont. We charge you exactly what it costs us. And that's what the commissioners have said, that if you want these contracts, you want to do these contracts, as long as there's no extra burden on the county, and that's what we do. I think you'll see that the increase from last year to this year is pretty minimal. And I'm very proud of the people that wear brown uniforms and come down and serve the citizens of Tremont. So I haven't been made aware of any problems. Chief Kane's not been aware, and that's certainly a job decision to make, but I'm pretty proud of the job that we do, and I'm very happy with the relationship that we've had for many, many years with the town of Tremont.
Thank you.
Thanks for serving us, because I know that you guys have been very helpful, and we appreciate it, especially living here and knowing we get to have somebody. Those calls that you were talking about, so those were all calls that you guys addressed for us, even though there was not someone here scheduled to address something for us.
Correct. We were covering well, that's both departments, the state police and the sheriff's department have what we call a call sharing agreement. Depending on whether it's a deputy or whether it's a trooper, they cover all the complaints, and that we call it a SWAT. And yeah, these are the 10 complaints that came in since January 1. To the time I got the figures, 1 o'clock this afternoon, there's been 10 complaints, none of them emergency, none of them life-threatening. Most of them, a good portion of them taken care of right over the phone.
Okay, that's amazing.
Those, I mean, we keep stats all the time, and we adjust our schedules based on that. I mean, the reporting system that we have at the sheriff's office, and we share that with Southwest Department, it's a great system. We can go in and identify the types of crime, the times they happen, who responded, all of that information we have. And they search the numbers, so there's 10. 10 complaints, none of them emergency.
Thank you.
When this first started out, way back in 2008, there was an article in the Elmhurst American, and myself, if I had called and complained about this drug dealer in my trailer, well, I tried to get out. The deputy sheriff Arthur came down on a Tremont woman who complained about it. Just after checking the camper, it was determined that nobody had been in there. Well, I'm sure that no drug dealer is gonna hang around all day waiting for the sheriff to come and say who's there. Yes, he was there, and he's there every night. And I talked to some, he comes to my house any night, not now, because he's gone. But he's there, you come every night, and I can bank it, I put money on, he was there. I could get no help from the sheriff's county, and that's the truth. That is the honest truth, it's right there, all the days out there. Thank goodness he's gone, my turn is back, but I'll tell you, it's scary.
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I'm Natalie. I moved here 2 years ago, and within the first year that I moved here, I had to call the sheriff's department at 3 o'clock in the morning. There was an unknown man on my porch bleeding with half of his face falling off. It took you guys an hour and 20 minutes to get there. When you got there, it took you guys had to call the ambulance and ask where they were. Isn't that something that would have warranted calling Southwest?
Yeah.
I mean,
I would.
I'm not an EMT, I couldn't have said if he was life threatening, but there was blood all over my porch and his face is.
You know, if we have a serious incident that's going on, the first thing you're gonna hear probably out of a deputy, and I'm speaking from my own personal experience when I was a patrolman, is that I asked dispatch to check, is there any other law enforcement in the area? So maybe there's a game warden, maybe there is a marine patrol warden, maybe Southwest Department has somebody right here on the other side of the bridge. And dispatch will check, and those, if there is someone that's available, they'll respond and hopefully stabilize the situation until we get there. Once we get there, we take over the investigation, we get it over. I really can't respond because I don't know why I would think if someone was hurt that there might be something. But you have to remember that medical personnel aren't gonna go in until the scene is safe. And respond to the other lady over here who's talking about, was asked to sit in the driveway while someone, a loved one was inside. She was given that information for her own safety. We didn't know, or nobody knows what the state of mind of that individual was, whether he was a danger for himself, was he a danger for himself and someone else that came in. So those instructions may have sounded mean and cruel.
Oh, please don't take any offense.
No, I'm not. I'm just trying to explain to the rest of the people here why that instruction was given to you.
Oh, I totally know why, and I totally know it was for both of our safeties.
Exactly. Exactly.
But, and whoever it was I talked to on the phone was awesome, totally awesome. But 40 minutes was my problem, when we can have it right here. I'm not downing anything about the sheriff's department. They were awesome to deal with. I had to take him to the emergency room. and the sheriff's department came there to make sure that we were okay. And so it all ended up fine, but it's that time when we can have it right here. It's not their fault that they couldn't get here in 40 minutes, for 40 minutes. I understand, but I just feel that Southwest Harbor is right there, 5 minutes away.
As long as they're not tied up on a Milliken one.
Okay. Anybody else? Yes.
I'm sorry I was so late, but a general question. Does Southwest want to do this for us? I'm just asking.
Oh, sorry. Oh, could I please get your name? I stated in the first meeting, just to state your name before
Sorry, I'm glad you
for
took
the.
care.
Okay, thank you.
But I'm just
Um,
curious if Southwest wants to do it. I mean, I feel like it's better for our community.
What's that?
Yeah, address it to them.
Yeah, I guess you can, Justin, yeah.
Yeah, so since I started, Southwest Harbor, I've working with Chris about,
It's good. You have everyone
I
actually
always
speak
said
to you.
that I think
Mhm.
You
municipal
know, instead of standing there and
cooperation
nobody asks a question.
really was the most important thing.
I mean, it's been good. And there's
Yeah,
no problem.
no.
Sometimes it gets wasted.
Increasingly more efficient. So, yes, our services will always cost more than the sheriff's department services. I said this last time we were here. But that's just because we have to make sure that we don't subsidize any kind of law enforcement in Tremont on our taxpayers. So that's the reason we came up with the figures that we came up with. We'd be happy to provide that service. And I think would help to create a better department in Southwest Harbor. Because I think the coverage of Tremont will add a lot of, it's sleepy in Southwest Harbor in the middle of winter.
No, it's power.
Yeah,
They all did.
We would love to expand our department territory, and I think that would help us retain staff longer, and I think would help the overall cooperation between the two towns. Yeah, that's the reason we presented what we're doing to this.
Thank you.
I'm a little curious. I mean, you guys have your down midnight to 8 in the morning or whatever your real slack time is. How many people do each of you have on at that time? I mean, I'm assuming Southwest probably has one patrolman. That's the sheriff's department the same.
Depending on how many slots we have, and we traditionally always have a supervisor on with them too.
Okay.
But, you know,
I just was curious. I mean,
depending on how serious it is, everybody's on call.
Yeah.
You know, everybody's on.
I guess how many patrolmen or deputies are in a car or are at work, I guess.
If we have what we call slot 2, which contains Tremont,
Mhm.
we would have one deputy assigned to that. We may have somebody on what we call special assignment, which means we have another person that's scheduled, they'll be part of that, and we also would have a supervisor.
Okay.
Marjorie.
I have phoned the sheriff's department a couple of times in the last few years. And both times that, we had a neighbor across the road down a well. And fire department came out and the ambulance came out within 20 minutes. And the same at the house, when an ambulance came, it just came locally. But the sheriff's office was the one that dispatched them, and they were there in no time. And so it seems like my 2 incidents were just taken care of within 20 minutes.
I just have a question with the officers, so you're
Oh.
saying then,
Yeah.
okay?
These are the town manager,
Okay,
so-
and you're.
I'm the chief.
So you only have one person out on patrol, say, midnight,
Midnight till in the morning.
okay, and so if something happens that person needs backup, where do you go for
We
backup?
have mutual aid agreements as with the sheriff's department as well as with,
Okay,
our first backup would probably be Mount Pleasant.
okay, okay.
Realistically, I think the difference is if we have somebody on staff in a car 24/7, the sheriff's department does have a lag period where they just have people on call at home.
Yeah, well, I'm just thinking of your guys' safety. I mean, you know, if you come to my house and something's going on, that there's weapons or whatever, and then you have to wait for backup, I'm just wondering
Right.
where that backup's coming from.
And that mutual aid is really for the sheriff's department. You know, it isn't, you know, you say, well, the Sulphur staff will come anyways when emergency situations for free. Well, yeah, I guess we sort of do, because we have these agreements. Now, don't think that it's one-sided. The sheriff's department certainly has come to Sulphur staff to assist us when we need them.
Right.
It's just, you know, that's just part of our mutual aid agreement. You know, we work pretty well together, and there haven't been any issues that I'm aware of. You, Sheriff? Nope. I mean, so it's just a matter, I mean, I think what you're really looking at is this, is when it boils right down, it's gonna be probably more likely than not, when you have calls for service and treatment. Sulphur Towers probably could get there before the sheriff's department, unless the sheriff's department has somebody already in town.
Yeah. And sorry, I didn't get your name before you
I'm
stayed there.
Christine Miles.
Okay, thank you very much.
I
Yes,
had
Diane.
someone follow my car home one night from Southwest Harbor, which would not have been an emergency. I would have felt a lot more comfortable if I had been able to drive to the police station in Southwest and report it. Instead, I drove home afraid, and finally, the person turned off, but, that to me means a lot, to be able to go someplace where I know that people will respond to what the problem is. If I had called the sheriff, I would not really have had any emergency, because you said the harassment call wasn't an emergency. So it's those things that fall in between. You know, if you saw your leg off, they'll come right away. But it's those things in the gray area that may not be terrible emergencies, but are a fearful situation.
Yes, thank
I
you.
would just say that in that situation, if your first thought was to go to Southwest Harbor, you could have gone to their office and you would have been safe there. And we
Well,
would have
yeah,
had
but how
an
do I
officer
get
respond.
home? I mean, I could go there
We
and
would
be
follow you
safe.
home. We would come and meet with you. What is the issue? What information do you have to give us? Do you have a license plate? Do you have a vehicle description?
No, it was the tow truck. The guy in the big fat tow truck followed me. And I have a small car, and he was right on my bumper the whole time.
Do you think it was a harassment issue?
Well, I don't think he was wanting to invite me to the prom.
Well, in a situation like that, he may have wanted to get by.
No, he didn't want to get by. He wanted to intimidate me.
So you knew what was going through his head?
Well, I'm not stupid.
Okay, I'll leave it there.
Thank you for your understanding.
Anybody else have any comment? Yes, Justin.
I know at the last meeting, we left kind of the per call and up in the air, and the chief and I met, talked about kind of, we went through all the calls for the sheriff's office, the state police office. And we really only counted about, I think we counted 55, but we estimated there's probably somewhere between 50 and 75 calls. The call for the service, as we talked about at that last meeting, where there's actually some effort that we have to make outside of the normal patrol hours to handle those calls. The majority of them were just 911 hang-ups and, calls about harassment and calls that could be fielded at that time later during the patrol hours when we have dedicated patrol in this area. So, we didn't know what the figure was exactly, and then we talked about kind of, we'd only charge for those calls that require us to do outside of the normal patrol hours, additional work. And, so when we talked about that this afternoon in the calls individually, we think that number And again, this is one of the conversations that I've had with the chief is what's going to change as we become the patrol here. And we think that there are probably more calls than what you have now. The feeling is that maybe some people don't call because of the time frame. You know, if they see someone driving like an idiot, and a lot of people don't think, well, the sheriff's gonna take such and such long to get here, there's really no point in calling it in. They may not call it in. So we're kind of assuming that there's gonna be an increase in the number of calls as we take over this, as it has, but we still think it'll be under 100 calls that would warrant additional time outside of the normal range of patrol hours.
Thank you, Justin.
Can I just also say, I work at Tremont Elementary School, and there's a great bunch of guys that work at the Southwest Harbor PD, and they come to the school a lot, and I like that because I like the kids to be like comfortable and not like see a police officer come in and say, what's happening, you know, or be scared or something. And that would be so awesome to have at Tremont. I mean, I don't know if the sheriff's department goes there or whatever, but I don't know, it's just more of a sense of community, that, you know, and these kids know them by name and just feel comfortable around them, that they can go to them if they are teenagers and they have peer pressure. I don't know, I just think they're a great bunch.
Can I say something in response to that?
Yes.
I have put 4 kids through Tremont School, and I know a lot of the sheriff's deputies have popped in and played soccer with the kids or had lunch with them. So they do.
Oh, well,
they do.
that's good.
Yeah.
They do.
Yeah, and I know from my own that Mr. Kane was my dare teacher, not to put any age on either one of us, but yeah. That was a couple of days ago, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Can I speak on this topic real quick?
Yes, Mike.
So I probably have a difference of opinion than a lot of people, but I think if you've never had a problem, it's easy to say, let's stick with the sheriff's department, it works for me, price is right. I had somebody in my house at 4:30 in the morning. I come home from sanding and plowing, and it was actually in the back of, in the front, which is my garage. My home's in the back. I had an infant child in the back with his mother, and I came home and there's someone in my garage that was a convicted murderer with a knife in their hand. They just gotten out of jail. They were walking around in my garage with a knife. So I called them at 4:30. 5:30, I called them. I said, you guys coming? This guy's still walking around the garage. He's got a knife. They said, we're defrosting the vehicle. 6:15, they roll in. The guy was taken without an issue. He had some issues. That's fine. I didn't know if my kid was still alive or my girlfriend was alive. I had no idea. I think if you've never had a problem, it's fine. The sheriff's department works for you. And we can look at all the situations, all the calls that Mr. Kane has listed, that everything's worked fine and dandy. But if I had asked, I said, can we get Southwest Harbor over here? It did not warrant an emergency. So if yes, Mr. Kane, if you handle stuff on a case-by-case basis, that's fine. I'm fine with that. But determining what's a safety issue to the general public and what isn't, if you want to put if the sheriff department wants to put someone's life in their hands, you know, a 3-year-old kid, that's fine. He had a 30-inch brush knife in his hand. I don't know as my child's mother or my child, you know, I don't know as they would have handled that very well. I didn't know for an hour and a half if they were alive. I wasn't going to leave this guy. He was in the garage. I knew there was some issues. I couldn't talk with him very well. I was very disappointed. Not in you. I was disappointed that they didn't have Southwest Harbor come over and help. The response time, I get that. That's always going to be an issue, but I think we can do a lot better as a town. I think for what little money it's going to cost extra, I think we should just go ahead, sign the contract with Southwest Harbor, and you know, put our balls in a wheelbarrow and make this happen, because we need it. I have a child that just started Tremont this year. I think it'd be great for him to look up to the officers. I know Mike Miller, I know Officer Graham, I know who the police chief is in Southwest Harbor, and I think they'd be an asset to our community. And people can think of it differently, but that's just how I feel.
your mic. Yes, ma'am.
I came to the meeting today wanting to know two things, what the average age demographic here is in Tremont. Because the other day I was walking, it was dark, it was getting ready, the sun was getting ready to set. There was this very, for lack of a better word, sketchy young man walking with a flat backpack, not a thing in it, not one thing, maybe a pencil. Gray. And the first thing I thought of is I need to check on my elderly friends. I was so worried that he was just gonna knock on the door, sleep on someone's porch, break into their garage. I came to this meeting, I talked to all the sheriffs when they come to town. I know Travis Frog, I know them. I want them to know that I am a person, if they have a question, they wanna know where someone lives, or I'm willing to talk, I ain't got nothing to hide. I absolutely adore the Southwest Harbor Police Department, I agree with Dempsey, getting them in the school system is great. I was sad when the DARE program left Tremont. I have a daughter that's a police officer, I think we need to promote more coverage and take care of our people in our community, so that they're not scared. I'm not saying the sheriff's department hasn't done a wonderful job. I think they've done phenomenal. I think their presence has changed how people drive. I think it has changed where they're doing their drug deals. I think it's changed where bad things are happening. But I don't have a problem noting in my own head and taking inventory of what's going on and where it's going on. And if someone asks me, I'm gonna tell them. But I was really worried for my 4 elderly friends that are 80+ years old when I had no idea who that person was, where he was going. I don't think he knew where he was going. And I circled around Clark Point, Bridgetown, Kellytown, until he wasn't on the road anymore, because I didn't know where he was going.
Thank you. Scott?
Just as a side note, we are doing DARE in Tremont, and we are doing it in Southwest Harbor as well. God love it. I'm kind of partial to that, because I've had some students over the years, and
My daughter was a student.
I myself still teach a couple schools, but Healthy Acadia, we partnered with them. They were willing to pay for the training for 2 officers, and we are using them around the county as much as we can. We are in Tremont, and we're also in Southwest County.
Jamie, can I ask a question?
Yes. Yeah, go ahead.
For your negotiations, do you anticipate that those will be concluded by the time that our contract expires, so that we would have a multi-year contract? Or is this gonna be a 1 year?
I'd be comfortable with the proposal that we gave you for the first year. And obviously, it's a 12-month contract, we come back and negotiate it again. And then what I like to do, which we did this last time, is if it's a multi-year contract, match it up with the contract, so we can be a little bit better and be fair to you folks as far as what the costs are, and fair to the county, so that there's no added expense to them. So we submitted a 1-year proposal. Your guess is as good as mine, how long it will take for the contract negotiations. Sometimes they go pretty quickly, sometimes they're very lengthy. But we will, if in fact you accept that, we will sign that contract and we will look up to the agreement of that.
How long do your contracts last when you have, your,
We usually sign 3-year contracts with, they just recently settled with the corrections. The dispatch, the RCC, and the patrol are now, they'll end up ending on the 31st of December. And the good thing really that I support that they did is, we all used to be under one umbrella. So what dispatch of the RCC thought was fair, the patrolman may not have thought was fair, or vice versa, and those kinds of things. So they split them up into 3 individual contracts. So it's much easier for us and much easier to manage a small thing at a time. They just try to put that whole department together. But we just signed this year, I think it was in June, signed a contract with the unions for the corrections. And we'll see how long it takes for this next one.
Yes, Phyllis.
Do you think in the contract, wouldn't a year be good for a change for somebody to see what this Southwest Harbor could do for this community for a year. And then at the year, it needs to be removed, or if it needs to be changed back, put it back. Is the sheriff willing to take us back if this scenario? Okay,
Yes.
My only concern with that is staffing. You're all involved in trying to hire people, you've seen it all through the news, I'm trying to hire a police officer. So, it isn't just as simple as, in other words, when we provide you with a contract, we have a person employed to supply those hours to you. So, it isn't as easy just as it used to be, to snap your fingers and call a police officer. So, changing back and forth from year to year, that isn't gonna work for us or Southwest Harbor.
Yeah, but it's a hiring bubble,
Yeah.
there's no question.
It's difficult to find police officers, so back and forth is not an option. And back to your question, Chris, the bigger reason why, a 1 year versus a 3 year, we could give you a 3 year contract, but we'd just be guessing. So it would be on the higher side. So you'd be paid, you're better off to wait that way, because we only charge you cost. So if you know what the true cost is, that's all you pay.
I just asked because if, it ends up being a 1 year contract, then I imagine we'll be right back having another public hearing in 12 months. And-
Yeah. Yeah. Christie.
So will Southwest have to hire another officer as well?
Yes, that would be.
I don't believe you have an option with us of doing a 1 year contract either, do you? No, I mean, what you presented to us is a 3 year contract.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just, we couldn't make the investment in a 1 year
I
contract.
understand.
Be
Yeah.
significantly higher.
Yeah, I just wanted the clarification on that.
Because, you take them on after. You guys
Yeah.
are just hiring.
Okay, Patty.
I'm curious, was it close the last time we voted on that? Like, we voted about this before, like or have we
Didn't the
talked about
selectmen
it?
shoot it down?
What,
Down those reports?
how it has, at least in my time, since I've been on here for, going on 4 years now, was, I think it was the first year I was on here. We had the same debate, and the selectmen voted it down. I think it was like a 3-2 vote. And then it was the group overturned it. How do you, they,
Yeah, I was gonna
think-
say.
I think
I-
Katie has because we have looked at the history of it.
Yes.
Okay.
So once the select board made their decision and a citizen petition went around, there was enough signatures, which allowed it to go on the next town meeting ballot. The verbiage was, will the town negotiate with Southwest Harbor? Doesn't mean sign, and then negotiate, allow the select board to negotiate that contract. And then the select board negotiated, it didn't fit our budget, and we move forward.
and what was the vote on that? Do you have the vote on that from the taxpayers? I thought it was like,
I have to check it out and see if I have it online.
yeah.
I believe what happened too on part of that, and I know Chief Brown was in that. I think there was some resistance with the Southwest Harbor Select Board too, if I remember right. I mean, they came back with something quite different than we thought we were going to be dealing with. Does that sound accurate?
No, my recollection,
Okay.
this is a recollection 3
Yeah.
years ago. My recollection was that we provided a proposal, and then you asked for a proposal, and then
Sorry.
the next board meeting, I think the select board said, wait a minute, let's see how it's working with Bar Harbor and Mount Desert. And I think the select board, this was my take from it, was that they were looking for more time to look.
Okay. Yeah, I get this feeling very strongly that Southwest Harbor Board, Select Board didn't support
Okay.
the contract at that point. I mean, that's my gist of it. So I don't think it was a decision. There wasn't really much decision to be made here.
Yeah.
It was kind of taken out of our hands.
So
Mike.
the citizens initiative, the taxpayers and the voters of the town, how I understood it, wanted the sheriff's department and the select board did not. That's
No, that's backwards.
So
Backwards?
I can read the article for you. It was, the ballot question read, law enforcement contract. Shall the town of Tremont authorize the selectmen to negotiate and enter into on behalf of the town of Tremont, a 3-year contract with the town of Southwest Harbor for law enforcement services, including criminal law, civil infractions, town ordinances, and animal control services for the period commencing January 1, 2018, with a total for services not to exceed $105,000 for the first year, $108,000 for the second year, and $111,000 for the third year. The vote passed with 181 in favor and 89 not in favor. There was no recommendation from the select board.
Is that for
Thank you.
30 hours? Or is that 24/7?
So it's a citizen petition, and the citizen petition means that whoever circulates that petition had to create this verbiage.
But they didn't put the hours in that verbiage. It was-
No.
They just put them on.
Yep.
No,
It's
you don't know what
negotiate
you-
and enter into.
I believe it was to, what they were going off was a contract that we had in front of us previously, like a year and a half before, so that contract was null and void by that point. So that's, I believe, and I can't speak for them, but I believe that's where they got their numbers from, and that's where they were going with it.
I believe when I'd sat down with Don LaGrange that they had planned on offering 24-hour coverage Southwest Harbor to the town of Tremont at a beyond reasonable price, and he said Tremont would never get this deal again. It was such a good deal. I mean, it's a trial for us. They have a chance at, not it costing them money. And it was for full-time coverage. I sat in his office. I actually probably have record of it at my house, but.
I'm confused, I had 260,000 for 24/7, where did this 100,000 come into? For 24/7, I
Yeah.
can't believe there's that much difference in the two contracts, and the two quotes.
Yeah, that's roughly what it is now. That's in the past. The current what we have now in front of us is basically, like I say, this is a rough number, but a $60,000 increase for the same coverage.
Same coverage.
30 hours versus 30 hours. 24-hour coverage was 100 and what more? Roughly. I know it's
107 days.
170 more. Okay, for 24-hour coverage.
So that's 260,
Yes,
But that's 7 days a week.
what a difference.
yes,
270.
yes. 270.
Currently about 100.
Once again, these are rough numbers.
If
We're
you're thinking
just,
about signing a contract for 24/7 with Southwest Harbor, you might want to have it on a warrant for a town meeting.
Yeah.
Before you make that decision.
And do we know can we find out what the selectmen said about it? If the town voted,
So the select board had no recommendation, meaning they left it up to the voters to make the decision.
and that said that the voters agreed to let the selectmen negotiate it,
Negotiate.
but then it was not negotiated.
I wasn't present for any negotiations, so I
Yes,
can't.
we can.
speak.
Okay, I couldn't remember what happened.
Yeah, Southwest Harbor never came through with the contract for us to agree to, is what happened. The Board of Selectmen in Southwest
I just
never
remember there being
came.
a lot of things about, the state couldn't come up with the numbers, because they were still in contract negotiations, so they couldn't
county.
give us an accurate number, and Southwest couldn't give us an accurate number, so last time I was at that meeting, it was all about, no one could really give us an accurate number, and the selectmen couldn't make a decision based on the fact that we didn't have an accurate number.
I believe that, at least in my term, that it has been, we didn't have a contract from Southwest the second time. Once it went in front of voters, we just didn't have a contract, and we can't make a decision with no contract in front of us. So I believe that's what it was at that point. So yeah, we went with the sheriff's department. Yes.
Southwest have the contract that they have applied to Tremont for this year or not?
I'm sorry, ma'am, I didn't hear you on
I
that.
said, has the town of Southwest Harbor applied with a contract to work with Tremont for this year or not?
No,
They haven't. Has anybody asked them to?
I think, yeah, are you asking, has Southwest Harbor offered us a contract?
Correct.
Oh,
We have a
yes, that's-
proposal, but we don't have a formal contract.
Oh,
I suspect
So
that,
the town can, if they want to, can think about it. They can have a contract with them if they, how much more would that contract cost the taxpayers this year for that?
Basically, we did a number, just, I had Chris do a rough number. If the median household, is that what you figured it off roughly? A
yeah.
median tax base is $250,000 property. It equals out to not quite 20 cents on 1,000 on your mill rate, so it would equal out to about $30 a year for a $250,000 household, if that's.
Certainly seems like that's a low amount of money to get the extra help that we need when we need it.
Thank you. Justin.
Yeah, I will just say, I've presented the proposal to the board and they support the proposal that we presented to you. So you won't have that back and forth because it's.
Okay. Just for clarity, that's the Board of Selectmen of Southwest Harbor has agreed to this contract. You know, just, okay.
Thanks.
So for $60 a year, I can have peace of mind that I can get a response if I call.
Yeah.
$5 a month, I've got law enforcement plan for my property.
I'll pay it.
No, it's, not quite, about 17 cents on every 1,000 is what it is on your tax base.
That's for the 24/7?
No.
Basic coverage that we're duplicate.
Yeah, I just wanted to, I wanted to compare apples to apples so that we didn't compare 24-hour versus different, so that we stay, that's the difference.
But the thing with Southwest, we'll get equal coverage what we get with the sheriff, but if we have to get added coverage, we pay for that per hour, is that right?
That was per call is what is in the coverage, is what is in the proposed contract would
So
be,
that'll be above and beyond that,
yes.
what you just said.
All right, that included some because our numbers, sorry, I didn't have that right in front of me. I've got everything else.
so the proposal that I've received has a $50 per call when the calls require a response and come in outside the contract. At this meeting, I've heard, we're all speculating as to how many calls there would be, but they're estimating at most 100. So let's take the worst case scenario and say 100. So that's $5,000 a year to add on to that. So they're per year on a 3-year contract at 30 hours a week is 143. Again, rough numbers, let's say 150. That's approximately $50,000 more than what the sheriffs are offering.
And actually, I think, Chris, on that was estimating more calls than, people are talking about tonight.
Yes.
I think that additional call amount would actually be a little lower than that.
Oh, yeah, I was
Yeah.
saying worst case scenario.
Yeah.
And just to clarify for you, Mike, too, the number that we went off was 60,000 more. We're trying to use an over number just to give it, so that the 17 cents on every 1,000 was for 60,000 more than the sheriff's coverage.
Right, so if it was full-time coverage, it would be even more.
Yeah, oh, yes. Yeah.
But even if it's $120 a household a year, what's our safety worth, I guess? That's how I think of it.
That's what I was thinking. When I figured the difference between this $134,000 between the two that you've got there, 134,000 on all the people here, it's really, not here in this room, but it's really very minor for a safety that, you go to bed at night, you can pick up that phone, hello, somebody's there. You pick up the phone now, it's 40 minutes, and by the time they hit the Trenton Bridge with their little old car, forget it. It's done. Whatever they're gonna do, it's done.
Larry.
What I would like is a little more enforcement instead of just the present. So, if Southwest Harbor does enforcement and they have to follow along in a case, say they have to go to court 2 weeks later or whatever, are we charged for that by the extra, or is that included in that initial?
That's actually what the $50 per call was made to offset. So we'll have an additional 10 hours of staff time from that person. hours, they'll have an additional 10 hours to do that paperwork and.
And follow through.
All that follow through. We have,
10 hours for the whole year?
no, per week.
Per week. Okay.
Yeah, so, the reason we put the 50, so say, Southwest Harbor, and people comes in and people start calling more and there's more, enforcement done. What I didn't want to do is hinder the Southwest Harbor Police Department budget by an increased call volume in Tremont. So it was just a way to kind of buffer that cost.
Yeah.
If there is a significant increase in the number of enforcement cases, based on Southwest Harbor being closed.
That tells me that we're gonna get more enforcement with this deal. That makes sense to me.
Yes.
I don't think Mr. Early answered my question.
I'm sorry, I don't know what that
Did
is.
Southwest want to do this?
Oh, it's not Alan Brown's decision.
I can't hear her, by the way.
Oh, you can't.
No, I mean,
The
kind of.
town manager came up with a proposal. The board looked at the proposal, they thought the proposal should cover costs, because like the town manager said, we don't want to be doing services in Tremont and find out that it is now a burden to the taxpayers, just like that.
Yep.
So they think that it will cover those costs. You know, you can look at it both ways. I have less personally, less headaches if I'm sitting in Southwest Harbor and only worrying about Southwest Harbor. But, you know, on the grand scheme of things, down the road, potentially, could a larger patrol area make the Southwest Harbor Police Department a more attractive agency? Perhaps. But like the sheriff and the chief have said, you know, it is a hiring pool now. I mean, it's not a hiring pool, it's a hiring public. It used to be, when I first started, you'd have applications upon applications of people who want to get into police work. And there just isn't that many.
So that wasn't a, yeah, I wanna do this for Tremont, I have to tell you
We are
that.
happy to provide the service. if the town of Tremont wants us to provide the service.
That's really as exciting as you get.
Well,
Most of the
you know,
conversations.
that's what, okay, I'm just, well, that was concerning to me, that I don't want you to feel like that's a burden to your town, and you guys are not happy doing that, because then that makes me concerned that, you know, there is in the back of the mind, like,
This is a pain in the
you know,
butt.
this is a pain in the butt, you know, kind of thing, so.
No, I think most of our conversations have revolved around improving our department. Viability. So having a larger patrol area is good for our force. It gives us something to do in the middle of winter, when Southwest Harbor is very small. It gives them more range and more patrol area. Those are all things that we've had internal conversations about and how that would improve our department as a whole and improve the viability of our own department. So I think, even though he's not even smiling, I think he would admit that it would be a good thing for our department. And would be a good thing, I think, for maybe future further cooperation on the island.
May I ask a question?
Katie, sure, yeah, go ahead.
So I'm pretty sure that our current contract ends December 31st with the sheriffs. If this goes through, is Southwest prepared to start January 1st? Or are we gonna have a lapse in service, or there's gonna be no coverage?
If we sign the contract on the December 31st, no, we're not gonna be ready to go January 1st. But if we know with enough time to recruit the additional position, then I have great confidence that we'll be ready for January 1st. I'll say that.
So then my follow-up question is, as the board, are you guys comfortable making the decision for the town, or do you want this to go to town meeting? Because if it goes to town meeting, you either need to, the contract ends December 31st, and we don't sign any contract with anybody and hope for the best come town meeting. And then you still, the townspeople have voted in May to say, yes, we want to go to Southwest, but Southwest still needs time to prepare for the staffing.
She's right, I mean, we could be months without anything.
Now, if we, I was gonna say,
This is the same, this is the same catch 22 last time we talked about this.
Yeah.
I think, I mean, I think it's a simple solution. I think if we as a select board thinks it's the right thing to do, we do it.
I don't think, we've got a budget for law enforcement.
So do you want?
Correct.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Chris, yeah, could you?
Yeah,
raise
so
a
I,
reserve?
yeah, so I've looked at a few options as far as the legal way to do this. If you, so I'll first speak to Hancock County Sheriff's if you want to do that, and Southwest Harbor, understanding that I am not advocating one or the other. So, if you wanted to go with the sheriff's, I don't believe you would have to go to town meeting at all. I don't think anything special would have to happen. It would just be a very smooth transition. If you wanted to go to Southwest Harbor, you have a couple options for how to fund that. And so if you have a law enforcement reserve, which was set up as if Tremont ever wanted to start its own police department, those funds are there as sort of seed money for that initiative. It has about $60,000 sitting in it right now. And so the Board of Selectmen at your discretion can appropriate that money towards the increased costs of the Southwest Harbor contract. So based on, again, the proposal that's in front of me, let's say it's $150,000 a year for Southwest Harbor. We're talking the fiscal year, so that January to June would be half of that. So let's say $75,000. You have about $50,000 would have already been spent in the fiscal year for the first half of it for the county. So you have about $50,000 left over. You need about $25,000 to cover that gap. And so you could either pay for it out of the law enforcement reserve, and I don't believe you would need to go to town meeting for that. You have the authority to appropriate money from that reserve. Or you could still, just because it's a controversial thing, you might want to get voter approval if that's your intent. You could go to town meeting. We would have to call a special town meeting sometime in the next couple months. And then you could ask the voters at that special town meeting if they want to appropriate the funds needed from the unallocated fund balance. And the voters could do that.
Okay, thanks for explaining, Chris. Yes, Justin.
I give an additional option. We can also set up a payment plan, a payment arrangement that allowed you to get to your next fiscal year. There was an overage, so we could schedule the payments for it so that they fell into the fiscal year in a way that allowed you to utilize the budget for that now. What if we have a contract?
Larry.
This question might have been asked before. Is there going to be any controlling by Southwest Harbor in the proposal, or is it just if we call you, if you call?
No, we have a dedicated patrolman that would work at least 30 hours in Tremont. An additional cruiser.
All right, is there anything before I close the public hearing down, and then we'll discuss amongst ourselves here some, but anybody like to add anything? Yes.
Are we as Tremont residents allowed to ask you guys as our representatives of our town how you would vote for this? Or are we not allowed to? I'm just curious. I don't know.
I think you're allowed to. I think that there's a lot that goes, there's a lot that goes into that decision, and that's, yeah.
I just think it seems kind of strange that there's a lot of women here. I mean, there's a few guys as voters from the town of Tremont, but the most of us are women here, and we're not picking or choosing, but we just want our town to be protected.
Just guarantee us we're not gonna be left
I can
with
sleep tonight.
a section of time where we don't have any.
Yes.
That's the tricky part.
Yes.
I mean, you can't deny us, like if we called and we weren't with a contract with you, they can't not come take care of us, right? Like if there was a lapse and Mr. Gaines, there was a lapse, like, and we hadn't made a decision in our town yet. If there was an emergency and we called the sheriff's department, you have to come help us, right?
We would, honor the contract that's currently in place, and depending on what happens here, I have to look at my personnel. You know, it's gonna be one of those things that there's potential,
Right.
then I can't play some of the golf.
Yeah.
I'm not looking forward to that.
Didn't there used to be constables?
Yeah, but the way the standards are with the main criminal justice academy, those things really, constables traditionally now, they post warrants and that's really about it. So,
Does the state have to go to the state police
have jurisdiction down here a certain time.
Let me tell you a little story. We just, about a month ago now, had a conversation with the troop commander of Troop J, which is responsible for Hancock One. They want to back off of the commitment that they're in right now, cut it in half from what they have, so which means that the sheriff's office potentially is going to have to pick up the slack for what they are currently doing. And that allegedly, that decision is going to be made by January 1. Now, I met last week with the sheriff in Washington County, with the troop lieutenant, Troop J, and the commissioner of public safety. And I expressed my displeasure, as did Sheriff Curtis of Washington County, on the state police not living up to their responsibility. I mean, ultimately, as a sheriff, I'm not statutorily, or we're not statutorily required to supply law enforcement to anybody in Hancock County.
Why are they saying, what's their basis beside?
There aren't enough people, and I'm not gonna get in there, despite the fact that they're saying I'm not. So that's another potential situation that we may have to deal with. What's gonna happen there, I don't know. I personally feel that they probably do know what they wanna do. It's just the way that they try to present it, to try to make it palatable. But I'll tell you, the meeting that we had last week, including the commissioner of public safety, that, if he doesn't understand the displeasure of Sheriff Curtis and myself, he won't pay attention.
Can I just one more? So to answer your question in short terms, the answer is yes, if there's an emergency. Okay, I think there was a few between the question.
You always have that.
I have a question for Justin before we commence. If there seems to be a lot of worry about a lapse period, would it be something that Southwest Harbor, even if they didn't have an additional officer yet, would there be, would they be willing to cover the area, as far as maybe it wouldn't be 30 hours a week, but at least have a presence, be a phone call away, and until you found another officer and got established.
So the chief was heard the same question about a year, a second ago.
Yeah.
I would hate to see us be set up to fail. I think, yes, we could is the short answer, like he said.
Yeah.
But I don't think that it won't represent what we plan to do as coverage. And I think it'll be, I think you'll hear about it.
Mhm.
I think you'll hear about changing to a new contract and paying more money, and we don't even ever see it. So I would hate to set that to fail. I think if this board makes a decision, within the next month, I think it would be a reasonable amount of time to get that hiring done.
Okay.
So I think really it just comes down to the Tremont side. And I'll say the sheriff's department does a fantastic job. And they've assisted us, and I witnessed them come as an assistant, as a mutual aid assist to the town of Southwest Harbor. It's not a question of whether or not we provide better law enforcement officers than the sheriff, or better follow-up. I think even the sheriff's office, they do a fantastic job. And really the only difference between the two services is just proximity. And I think they have amazing officers, and I think we have amazing officers, and all of them do their very best. And I'm proud of both the sheriff's office and Southwest Harbor. It's just a decision for the town of Tremont as to whether or not they want 20-minute response, a 15-minute response, or if they want sometimes as much as an hour and a half. And that's not a shot at the sheriff's office. I mean, they have a lot more territory than we have now. So, it's just that decision is really what this means.
So what are your options as a group? Can you call a special vote? And how much time do you have to post that before you can have the vote?
We have to make the decision amongst ourselves here, what we decide, whether we make the decision, whether we bring it to taxpayers, which has been done, before, whether, I think we're just looking for public input, and then we're gonna make our decision as to what to do next, I guess.
So if you do decide to take it to the town people, is there a time limit that you have to post? And how
Chris,
long would that
could you
be?
answer that?
Yeah, it's 7 days,
Up
the warrant has to be
against what
posted for
they
7
need
days.
As far as prep time?
Yeah, so the warrant has to be posted for 7 days, but it also has to be in the newspaper, which pushes it out
Are
about,
you talking a special town meeting?
yeah.
Yes.
So you also take into consideration that every town meeting that requires a secret ballot vote, unless you're gonna have it as an open town vote, requires a ballot. Those ballots also need to be available for absentees 30 days prior.
Yeah.
So that means your notices need to go out before those absentee ballots are available. And having again another public hearing for town meeting and posting accordingly. So you're looking at least a minimum of 45 days, if not a little bit more, to prepare,
If it's a secret ballot.
if it's a secret ballot.
I would urge strongly, if you wanted to go the direction of having a town meeting, not to do a secret ballot for that exact reason. I don't,
We are also running into November election, so that's a state election that we have to run as well. So time constraints are what they are right now.
Can you snag a special town meeting in November, with the state election? I know that's a nightmare, but
I don't want to say yes or no. I don't.
but I think if we got right on it, we could do a special open town meeting
Can definitely do it.
within 3 weeks.
But we would want to
But if
agree
you-
on,
Mhm.
yeah, I personally don't think that I would want an open vote. I
Okay.
think that can be.
Yeah.
Sometimes can be a handful, but, yeah, I was gonna say, does anybody else have any other comments before we close the public hearing?
Can you guys just decide tonight?
I don't know. I can't answer that question for you right now. All right, I guess I will close the public hearing at 6:25. And I want to thank everybody for respecting each other and giving everybody a chance to talk, and it went really well. Thank you. All right, guys. Yeah, now I look.
Versus this close from here on.
I know everybody
Yeah,
has a
there's still
different,
meeting right now.
different opinion and stuff here.
Just the public hearing is closed.
I think,
Can you quiet the room down? Because I don't think they realize the meeting's still going.
oh, okay. The meeting is still going, just so you know. That was just the end of the public hearing.
You're gonna have to use the No, first time for everything.
Go for it, big guy.
I don't want to answer that. Let it settle down. We can talk. Okay.
Chris can't hear it.
Do it?
Yeah.
Go for it.
The meeting is still in session here. The public hearing is over, but
It hurt, didn't it?
yeah, it did hurt. I didn't really want to do that. We need to. So, in my opinion, I think that we heard a lot of stuff, a lot of different opinions, and there's a lot of options. And financial wise, I would feel more comfortable sleeping on it, making the decision at our next meeting, myself personally. That's just where I'm coming from. I think that both, we've heard
from both.
We've
both
heard from
sides.
both sides. We've heard, financially, it's financially, and it's not a question of whether either group is going to do a better job than the other. It's just Justin did a good job of summing it up. It's just a proximity. That's all it is. It's just that. That's it. That's all we're.
But what people don't realize, we're not gonna get any more from Southwest. We're gonna get the same exact things we're getting now.
Yeah. I think the only difference people are seeing would be like emergencies, calls and.
But Southwest is gonna be there for the bad emergencies.
Yeah.
Anyhow.
If the sheriff lets them though.
The sheriff's gonna let them.
They wouldn't let them, when they responded to my house.
I have no, that's not my decision to make.
I understand that. So not,
That's, those people in Southwest Island don't work for me. If we called for them and they didn't respond, that answer should be directed
You,
to the chief.
the responding dispatcher at the sheriff's department told me to stay there and wait. I said, they said, there's somebody coming. I told you the person's name. I mean, that's, you guys chose how to deal with it. If there was a different way, they should have let me know. That's how I feel pretty strongly about it. It's not your fault, I'm sure, but that's, 15 minutes opposed to an hour and a half, maybe 20 minutes. That's a big difference for me.
If Southwest could have got there any quicker.
Well, I'd spoke with an officer from Southwest Harbor the next day, and there was an officer on that could have dealt with that. They didn't have
But
any.
maybe he was some other place. Maybe he was, I mean.
No, Mike Miller had told me that he could have come over. So I feel pretty strongly about it. It's $60. We said average households, $60 right now, a year extra, opposed to $120,000 a year to have Southwest Harbor 24/7. That is pennies for any of
some
us.
people, though.
For any of us, that's pennies.
There's a lot of people in this community that are on fixed incomes, and that makes a difference.
But they don't have households that they're not being evaluated. They don't have $250,000 worth of valuation.
All right, so, I guess my vote is to wait until next time. Mike, clearly your vote is or your opinion. I should
My
say.
opinion's not gonna change a bit.
Okay.
As
Would be to
it's the
go to
same opinion I
Southwest.
had the last time we discussed this.
Can I just go down the lines that are Kevin?
Honestly, I think they're both excellent police departments. I think, for me, it comes down to the average response time is going to be better with Southwest Harbor. I mean, on average, a specific situation, but the price tag's higher. So it comes down with comparing response time to a minimal tax increase per taxpayer. I mean, and honestly, personally, I have no preference. I think they're both excellent police departments. I know individuals in both of them. I have zero complaints. And again, I think it comes down, it's geography, it's response time on average. And again, that's not going to be all the time. That's when there's not someone patrolling. And to me, I'm very comfortable with the town making that decision. And I'm very comfortable with either way it goes. I don't think either one's a bad choice.
Do you think we should make the decision tonight, though, or would you mind waiting?
I would love to see the taxpayers make it, to be honest with you. The residents of the town, it's going to affect them. And again, I don't think there's a bad choice. So
I agree with Kevin on that we should really let the taxpayers, if we're gonna spend the extra money, let them spend it. If they don't wanna spend it, they don't wanna spend it.
There's an awful lot of people with, very serious opinions in town.
Mhm.
And I think it's, I think it'd be great to have them weigh in and make the call.
So then that would be realistically, if we all said we want the taxpayers, if you wanted the taxpayers to do it, then it would have to be on, I think, just personally, I think it should be on a ballot. I don't think you should vote on
Secret ballot.
Yeah, a secret ballot. So if you did it November, I mean,
I would have to go and sit down tomorrow and look at the actual calendar
yeah,
and do.
no way.
I would say.
Yeah, no, there's no
It's a
way.
valid question that they asked me if we could put on.
It's too
or
late
already
at this
passed.
time, yeah.
Okay, so,
So you have to, after the first of the year at this point.
all right, and then that just opens up a whole nother issue. If the only thing I'm afraid of with sending, I agree with you 110%. I want the voters to be able to have their say. That's our job. That's what they're supposed to be. But we did this before. We let it go to voters. By the time we got a response back from the voters, then that time was for Southwest Harbor. And then the contract was so far gone, no one wanted, it was null and void at that point. So I just don't want to see a repeat of that. That's
So
all.
do you guys feel that the vote in May of 2017, the numbers that were there that voted for Southwest Harbor, do you think they'll drastically change at another vote?
The money has changed. That's the only, the first time we were arguing over $5,000 or $8,000, if I remember correctly. And now we're talking 50, 60,000 more. So I think that's the major difference,
Can you tomorrow figure out, okay, maybe not tomorrow, whenever, when's the soonest we could have a secret? I know
Sure.
we've missed the November election, but what, could it be the week after that? Could it be
So,
3 weeks after
Your next
that?
meeting is October 7th. Those dates I can definitely, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, I'd have to present that to you as a board as to what the information is, correct?
I want to call on you, Mike, but it acts like he has an answer for us here, so
Yeah.
he might have an,
Apparently
Justin
been
might have an
doing
answer
this.
for us, so.
So there's actually a third option to, I mean, you can have an open town meeting and have a yes, no secret
Yeah.
ballot that doesn't
Mhm.
require.
That's true.
That's true.
Yeah.
Secret ballot.
Yes.
And what that offers in addition to, it's like a hybrid, so you can actually have this discussion as a town. You can have people stand up and say, you know, this is why I think we should do this is why I think we should do this. And then you don't have to stand there and be like, oh, my neighbor raising their hand. You can just have a paper ballot at
Somebody
the
can make
open
a
town
motion.
meeting, which
Yes.
doesn't require the same notices that the secret ballot does.
Yeah, we do that in budget items.
Yeah, so you just write it, throw it in the box and.
So that's
Yeah.
probably the
It
best
requires
option.
a
You can get it
hand
quicker.
That is-
It's
that-
still
that would
private.
be-
It's
yeah.
still your own vote. Nobody's staring at you when you.
That would be within the time frame that I'm just looking at. If we start dragging on to the first of the year and then you're gonna get, it's just not fair to anybody involved, I
Right.
don't think.
Right.
I don't think it's.
I think the most important aspect of this is how we draft the language for the ballot question so that it doesn't appear biased towards one of the, I mean, it's not like, do you want to approve the sheriff's contract or do you want to approve Southwest Harbor? We got to make it in a sense that people can see that they have two options.
Yeah.
Because I think if
But
it's
they need
written
to
wrong,
understand both of the options. Sometimes the whole ballot question can be tricky and it's like twisted a little bit. I mean,
So
they
if
need
you
to
have
understand.
an open town meeting, I believe that as the chair, you could ask the moderator to explain the question presented.
Mhm.
Hear the people's public input at that meeting, and then someone calls.
Everyone
for
gets
it.
a chance to
Can I
speak.
jump in just to address the question of language? So town meeting questions are always yes, no questions. So the question is not, should we go with Hancock County Sheriff's or Southwest Harbor? There probably, I'd have to really think about this and maybe talk to the town attorney. Probably two questions. The first question, shall the town negotiate a contract with Hancock County Sheriff's? Yes, no. And then shall the town negotiate a contract with Southwest Harbor? Now you end up with the concern, what if you get a majority saying yes to both questions? It would be weird. I don't know why it would happen, but voters do unpredictable things. And I don't know what we would do in that scenario.
throw it out.
There isn't any money, numbers mentioned in that description of what they're.
At the town meeting, that would all be
Yeah,
discussed.
we would have to-
You know, it'd be an
this is-
open discussion.
Yeah.
So they get the information before they vote on it.
Yeah, it would be an open meeting.
Yeah.
It's similar to some of the budget issues that come up at the regular town meeting. You know, a lot of it's a hand vote, but you have some of the budget issues where you come up, you have a yes or a no, and you drop it in the box. So it would be similar to that's what we're talking about.
Can you just put on the ballot Southwest Sheriff and Terry and put whatever you want in there?
Can you give a handout, Chris?
Yeah.
Can
Well-
you give a handout that explains both things so people know exactly what they're voting for?
I would be very reluctant to do that. And the reason is that that language is going to be very closely scrutinized. And people might look at that and say, you're implying that we should go one way or the other. And the town staff really needs to be neutral in a controversial decision. And I don't want someone, going through with a magnifying glass saying, this is how the town staff swayed the decision by providing this, biased information to the meeting.
But we can give both parties, the sheriff's department and Southwest Harbor, a chance to speak at that meeting.
Yeah, you can do, the moderator runs the meeting. The moderator can do whatever the moderator wants. And there's nothing to stop Southwest Harbor and Hancock County Sheriff's from providing their own handouts at the meeting.
Because I think that would be, to me, I don't think people always know when it comes to the police department, I don't think the last time even they knew what they were into.
But now that I think of it, the only thing I was just thinking, I know this kind of destroys the plan of that, but how many people do we have in an average town meeting? I mean, we have It not even
varies
half,
wildly.
a third of the voter, like if the voter turnout.
Special town meetings are
Yeah.
horrendously
So,
poor.
It
That's the only-
depends on, so you're talking in an open town meeting?
Yeah, if
Or
we had a regular open town meeting.
Town meeting, there's an average of 52 voters approximately.
But something controversial is definitely gonna bring more people out. If this gets out and
Yeah, you had like
about,
30
people are gonna be
people
like,
at the
oh,
solar
we're
array,
gonna.
because that was a pretty obvious, no,
Yeah.
it wasn't controversial.
Yep.
But I think you're gonna have a lot more,
Yeah.
more controversial one.
Okay, I just want to make sure that if
Yeah.
we're gonna do it, we do it right, and we
Could we do
Fine.
it at the annual town meeting and just sign a contract, Hancock County for the next year and have it for the following year?
the only thing I'm afraid of with that, Howdy, is that once again, we're in this spot where that's what we did last time, and then it drags on. Time it comes back to Southwest, okay, if they approved it. If they didn't approve it, it's fine, but if they approved it, well, our plan has changed, our numbers have changed, that's a long ways away. That's the only downfall of it.
I feel kind of bad for, these law enforcement and town officials that have to keep going through this.
Yeah, I know.
I mean,
I
it's-
might not even be there anymore.
Yeah.
Same.
Yeah. That's what we get.
I would offer just for language purposes for an article, you don't have to do anything to continue your contract with the sheriff. I mean, I think you could do it with a single article that says, do you want to appropriate this additional amount of money to negotiate with a different thing? And just make it clear that, if this is voted no, our contract's going to be continued with the sheriff's office. And
Yeah,
these
I
are the
agree.
two sides. I mean, I don't think it has to get too, because I would hate to see you run into two no votes.
Yeah.
You were worried about two yes votes, that's easy. Two no votes is what would worry me.
You're right, I
Yeah.
agree.
There's a lot of people on town that vote.
Voter, you could argue that voters have already approved the money for continuing the Hancock County Sheriff's
Correct.
contract, so you don't need to have a second vote to affirm the first one. But you as a board would have to decide before, again, if you're going to the town meeting way, do you want to use that law enforcement reserve, or do you want to appropriate from the unallocated fund balance? Because if you want to do that, then that needs to be included in the warrant.
I would think the law enforcement reserve would, that would be most fitting for it. If you were going to use it, then that would be.
Makes a lot of sense to me too.
Yes,
I mean,
what
it's
it's
sitting
there
there,
for.
that's
Yeah,
what it's
I
for.
think that's.
And it's not gonna deplete it. I mean, we're not talking a huge difference on the price difference in the contracts for,
$30,000 to do it.
it's thing 25 grand, yeah, something,
25
yeah, something like that.
So town meeting?
And once again, you don't have to go to town meeting though.
No, I know. We can make the decision. You can sleep on it, make the decision in a week, or figure out which way you want to go in 2 weeks, or, whatever.
I think we, the town meeting, send it to the voters. It's the fairest way for the townspeople to get out and say what they want to say. Vote how they want to vote.
I make a motion that we hold a special town meeting as early as practical to have an open town meeting vote on law enforcement.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to hold a town meeting, special town meeting for law enforcement.
As soon as possible, as soon as practical.
Law enforcement contract as soon as possible. We'll have to figure out the date as soon as Katie gets a chance to research it a little bit more. Any discussion?
Yeah, so if you, if it's an open meeting, then we don't have to go through any of the absentee ballot process.
Mhm.
So really, what might be one of the longest delays is just the time between now and October 7th, which is your next regular meeting, to approve the warrant to go to voters. So if you wanted to really move this process along, I would say you should consider scheduling a special select board meeting to approve that warrant.
I was just looking at the thing. We don't have one on the 30th?
Nope.
If you guys didn't mind, if you want to if you want to put this out and do it, I just soon get it done with. And, I mean, we could do it sooner. I don't care. I'll do it next week. I mean, but
Well, it gives a chance for them to put it in the paper.
Well, you wouldn't need to put that meeting in the paper.
no, we
The-
just have
The
to,
meeting to approve the warrant does not need to be in the paper. It's just the town meeting itself.
so we could approve the warrant tomorrow. I mean, if that says anything, you might like, if we had a meeting on, would Monday be too soon? Like this coming Monday? 23rd? I know you're looking.
Katie and I are like, all right, we gotta prepare packets tomorrow.
Yeah, no, I'm just asking.
Kinda,
Okay, yes.
I
So
still
you-
gotta get it out to post, normal posting.
Okay.
Which technically should be at least 3 days before your meeting.
Okay.
And the press is here.
Yep, so what do you guys think? You want to just do the 30th,
Checking my
which is
schedule.
the next Monday, or do you want to do it on, I'm just looking at the other meetings on there. We could do it next Wednesday, the 25th.
Wednesday would be good.
I can do Wednesday, I can't do the 30th myself.
Okay,
I could do
Then-
Wednesday.
if everybody can do Wednesday, the 25th.
Yep.
Mackenzie?
You sound enthusiastic.
Yeah. Okay, so can we finish with Kevin's motion to do that, or do you want to meeting first?
No, it sounds like you have a place on your agenda to set the date of the next meeting, so you can do that then.
And all we're doing is signing a warrant, so it's a quick meeting.
Unless one of you comes to me and Jamie asks me to add something else to the agenda, I won't add anything else.
Better not.
No.
So I have some place to be.
Yeah.
And it wasn't here.
Yeah. So Kevin's motion was moved and seconded, and I asked for any discussion. We got through that. We're ready to vote. All those in favor? Okay. Next meeting date.
Thank you.
Thank you all very much.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Keep your phones out of your hands too.
Yeah.
I hear.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah,
September
next,
25th?
next meeting date.
Okay, I'll make a motion to confirm the next meeting date for Wednesday, September 25th at 5 o'clock at the town hall.
Been moved and seconded to confirm the date of the next meeting for September 25th at 5 PM at the town office. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, we are adjourning at 6:45. Got so many notes on my stuff here. I got it's like 10 scratches. I said I got so many notes on my stuff. I was trying to get everybody's name and all the stuff written down.